Hey, what's going on? What's going on, everybody? This is your boy, LaShawn Sugar Ray Marston, host of the Sugar Ray Show. We are here now with brother John Johnson, man. John Johnson is an incredible brother, an incredible man, an incredible advocate on so many levels, man. This is Mental Health Awareness Month. Today is we are doing this interview on Sunday, May 28th. Few days left in the month, man. We want to talk about it. Let me introduce you guys to John Johnson, tell you a little bit about who I'm speaking with today, who you guys will be listening to. So, John Johnson is a Queens native and graduate of Wesleyan University with a bachelor's degree in sociology. He went on to receive his master's in special education from Queens College. After a 30-year career in youth development, with jobs ranging from director of college and career services with the Madison Square Boys and Girls Club in Brooklyn to special education teacher with the New York City Department of Education. John has always been an advocate for young people. He was special assistant to the Honorable Helen Marshall, first African American borough president of Queens, serving in the capacity of youth and community services liaison. The Democratic His career also included a stint with the Democratic National Committee in their Get Out the Vote campaign during Bill Clinton's first run for presidency. John, living with the diagnosis of bipolar, has given John a unique perspective on mental health, relationships, work, caring for others, and advocating for those who don't have a voice. Having been successful in navigating through living with mental health challenges, John got involved with NAMI in 2016 to share his story with the intention of killing the stigma, inspiring others, and giving individuals and families hope. And that's where I met you, John, at NAMI. All right, so let's give you a round of applause, man, just for thriving, for enduring, man, for being vulnerable enough to share your story, to share your journey with us. So, how are you today, man? How is the day? How is the month going? How are you?
It is a beautiful day, a Sunday morning. I just took a little walk on the beach
Mm,
and just brought in the whole sunshine vibe, and I'm feeling good and feeling good. And first of all, let me just thank you for, as you said, being your first guest.
yes,
This is monumental right here,
yes,
right?
it is.
So I
Yes, it is.
appreciate you, bro, and we'll get a chance to talk a little bit about our introduction and stuff like that. So I'm good, bro, and I'm ready.
Yes,
Let's go.
yes, sir. So let's get right to it, right? Um, how how did you know, or how was it first revealed to you that you had some mental health challenges? How did that come about?
um, as the story goes, and that I tell, is that when I was 17 years old, I was diagnosed with something called acute psychotic episode. Of course, later it was called manic depression,
Mm,
and then it was called bipolar, as everyone kind of knows it now. But let me just tell you about a little bit about what was happening with me before the diagnosis. I was a pretty good student. I went to a school called Archbishop Malloy High School in Queens. I was captain of the basketball team. I was a senior at the time. I got accepted to several Ivy League schools. I had a 95 average. I was a coach of a basketball team. I even was a peer group leader where I was trained under this guy named Dr. Wayne Dyer, right? He was
Wayne
a
Dyer.
instructor, right? And he was teaching us seniors to lead freshmen. And
Mm,
so living a pretty, in fact, I even went to the National Psychology Convention in 78, and I had to kind of like show doctors what we did at Malloy, and I had to lead a group of doctors. So my life was going pretty good, and things were well. And all of a sudden, Sugar Ray, one day is April. I remember it clearly. I
mm,
stood up in the middle of my class while this teacher was yelling and screaming at us for something. He was like the meanest teacher in the school. And I got up and I said, "Who the F do you think you're talking to?" So
mm,
everybody in the class was like, "Ooh, nobody talks to Mr. Smith like that, right?" So everybody was kind of wondering, and I said, "You have no right to talk to us like that," and I'm leaving. And I said a couple other choice words, and I walked out.
mm,
Now, at that time, I was, a kid who, people kind of looked up to. I was also not only captain of the basketball team, but I was also president of the school. But I was one of only 10 black kids out
Wow.
of, I guess there was about 400 kids in my class, in the freshman class, and there was only about 10, 11 of us. So further on the story, that I went to the guidance counselor, and he says, go home, John, just relax. Guys they knew me. They said, just go home, right? Uh, Went home about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I was feeling a little weird, but I was feeling very paranoid. I went to a park where we played ball at all the time, O'Connell Park in Hollis, Queens.
Yep.
Big up OCP.
Yep.
And I started having paranoid feelings, like people were talking about me negative, like the girls on the handball court. Even though I couldn't hear them audibly, I thought that they were talking about me.
Wow.
The guys that were waiting to play, like, John thinks he's this, whatever. So in the middle of the game, right, and I'm playing and doing my thing, I took my ball and I just walked off the court. So similar to me standing up in class earlier, I just walked, and people in the park, yo, John, what's up? I heard them, but I just kept walking. Well, that was the longest 10 blocks of my life going to my home.
Wow.
If a plane was going by, I would think that everybody in the plane was looking at me. Or if a car honked a horn, I would think that horn was related to me. So very paranoid. If someone was talking, they were coming towards me, I think that they were talking about me. So needless to say, that was a very scary moment and the beginning of my living with bipolar. I say living with as opposed to suffering from, or I never say that I am bipolar.
Yep.
Because no one ever says they're cancer. No one ever says that they're diabetes. So I began to live with it and started to cope. So that was kind of when we first recognized it.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. If very vulnerable time, right? I can only imagine for you, young man, having these overwhelming thoughts, feelings, right? If you could remember, if you can go back to right before that incident in class, like, can you remember, like, was it that moment in class that you started that you just felt that need to outburst, that need to speak up like that in that way? Or was it something going on prior that you was able to maybe suppress a little bit, and then in that moment it just exploded? Or was it all sudden in that moment?
It was a little bit of everything. I would say this. At that time, it was April of my senior year. I said I had gotten accepted to my school. I decided I was going to a school called Wesleyan University. But I was still under a lot of pressure. That leading up to that, just waiting, the anticipation of getting to school. And that whole, really sometimes it's traumatic trying to wait for what school you're going to get into. And then also I was playing ball. I had finished playing, the season was over. So I wasn't playing ball as much, and that was one of my outlets. I broke up. One of my friends always says, John, your first L was when you broke up with this young lady, right? I broke up with her around that time, and up until that point, everything was love for me in terms of my life. Academics, socially, everybody knew me in the neighborhood, family. But when I broke up with her, that was a traumatic experience for me because of some of the circumstances surrounding it. So there was a lot of stuff going on, and I was pent up, but not really noticing anything really, and just not sleeping a lot. Now I can look back and see what was going on, but during that time I couldn't really notice, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back when this teacher was young. And I went off.
Absolutely. No, that's powerful. Thank you for sharing that, because as as we've been doing this work together for a few years now, we want to normalize it, right? Because it's a normal thing that we all experience in different capacities. But I think we both want to work to alleviate, right? right? Alleviate as much as we can people having these challenges, people living with these challenges, developing these challenges, because there are some, as you know, maybe more than I do, some stuff that happens chemically when a child is developing in the womb to the brain, but then there are a lot of things that life circumstance creates these challenges, right? And so what it sounds like, a young man like yourself playing basketball, having fun, living life, the pressures of picking what school to go to, right? Basketball, those pressures, then not playing enough basketball, then the breakup. So it sounds like pressure and trauma created an explosion in you, right? First in your mind and your heart, and then it exploded outward, right?
Absolutely. So what you're talking about, the dynamic of chemicals, some chemically based stuff, right? But also some psychosocial stuff. What was
Exactly.
happening in my life that was creating a disturbance, right? One other thing that I didn't talk about that was causing disturbance was, being going to an all white elite school and having the pressure, not only in that my senior year, but all 4 years of being the only black or one of the
Wow.
few black kids, and always feeling the pressure of, having to be better just to be equal,
Wow.
and I always had, so it made me excel, because I was like, I'm gonna prove myself to do, and not only that, my older brother had gotten into Malloy, and I thought that I only got in because he got it, because I was elected. Didn't really qualify, but
Yeah.
I got in because of him. He was a star, and so those pressures of being those microaggressions that
Yep.
was happening with the white boys, the white kids. I got along with everybody, and I was a nice kid, but a lot of stuff was eating up
It's
inside.
hot.
So that was another thing, and family pressure, a lot of stuff
A
that
lot.
that happens to us that we don't really take into account how it's affecting our health, physical and mental. You know.
Wow. No, that's
Yeah.
powerful. And so let me ask you, because this is a time when obviously mental health challenges aren't talked about in the black community, in the black family, right? Like what's going on mentally is like go to school, do your job. We don't care what's going on. Do you think the ability or the lack of ability to talk about as all of these things were happening, not being able to talk about it freely, did that also, contribute to the explosion?
1,000%.
Mm.
I was fortunate that I was the kind of guy who did share,
Mhm.
because I had really close friends.
Yeah.
Really like my inner circle of 2 or 3 dudes that I was real tight with. I was able to share some things with. But even when pressures were happening and stuff like that to me personally, I was more into helping others,
Mm.
as opposed to checking out what's happening with me,
Mhm.
and sharing and helping others, you know, figure out their lives and stuff like that, and not really taking into account. And also me not feeling real comfortable in sharing some of the intimate moments of my life. Only a couple of my friends knew that I broke up with this young
Keep
lady.
going. Mhm.
Only a couple of my friends knew about some of the things that happened to me at Malloy, that was prejudice stuff that happened.
Mhm.
So, and finally, no one ever was talking about, depression, or, no one was talking about anxiety and stuff
Mhm.
like that. That wasn't the case. Dr. Wayne Dyer was talking about, his whole thing was, as you think
How
is
you are?
what you'll be, right?
Mhm.
You can think your way out of things, right? But what he didn't really really deal with is us sharing those thoughts.
Yep.
So
Wow.
I'm in my head thinking I'm going to do this. I'm going to create my world. I'm going to think positively, but not talking about it, not talking about my thoughts and sharing kind of made me go inward. Thus, those paranoid thoughts and, not being able to get stuff out and share and not feeling comfortable to share. So 100%. And then the whole machismo, I was
Yep.
with my fellas, and all that, playing ball in the park and stuff like that. It's not easy just to go up to one of your friends and say, "Yo, man, I'm bugging. I'm depressed. So, that wasn't something that we did,
Absolutely.
and I'm so glad that we're getting more into it now, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, thank you for all of that, brother. So yeah, so let's fast forward. Let's come to present day. So present day now, you are doing talks, right? You're talking at schools, you're talking at colleges, you're talking at institutions, organizations, yeah, in the neighborhoods. Um, I met you through NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness. Um, how do you think, or well, first, how did you get into NAMI? Like, how did you find out about NAMI? How did
hmm
that relationship develop, and what's going on with that?
So yeah, so I had several different jobs and was navigating my way through living with this condition. My story goes on where I was hospitalized a couple of times throughout my journey living with this, and but still, just trying to find that balance of medication, my coping skills, also treatment, all that stuff was I was living with that for years now. So finally, after living with this for 30 years, 35 years, and seeing what was happening with mental health and especially with brothers, black folks, and me living with that, I said, you know what, I want to come out and I want to talk more about it, my experiences, and what I experienced and my successes,
Yes, yes,
and overcoming,
overcoming.
what was deemed to be like a death sentence, like, oh, the mental illness, the portrayal of people that have mental health challenges is that person who, killed everybody in their family, or who's talking to himself on the street, or who, doing something negative and destructive, right? But there's more people that live with mental health challenges that look like me than
Yes,
are persons that they're portraying on TV, and
absolutely.
and as well as I think that people that deal with mental health challenges, um, they're more likely to be the victim as
Mm,
opposed to the perpetrator. But that's not what is shown on TV. They're only
abs-
shown, so they're creating this atmosphere that people with mental health challenges, you need to be afraid of them, or you need to be, but where they need help, or or we need to understand what's happening with them as opposed to fear them. So, having said all that,
mm,
I was one of the directors of a Boys and Girls Club, and I said, you know what, I'm looking for some vehicle that I could kind of share, and so somebody had mentioned NAMI, so I googled NAMI, and I said, oh, they're doing a lot of things that I think I could take advantage of for myself and to help others. There was a brother who was affiliated with NAMI, who I got in touch with, and he was like a national spokesperson, dynamic brother, and I just watched his videos. So I just cold called him. I got his number.
wow,
Come to find out, he lived like 10 minutes away from me in Hempstead. I'm like,
wow.
oh. So we had a bond, man. And he's a brother, similar story. He's an Ivy League dude and all that, and a corporate guy. And his story was very similar to mine, and we just bonded. And then boom, he hooked me. He was plugged into the NAMI network,
Mm,
Queens Nassau, and nationally. And so I kind of jumped on his coattails, and he just
nice.
took me on a ride. And then I did all the certifications and all that while I was still working full time at the Boys and Girls Club. And then and that was that, man. And I just continued to grow, and I call it my ministry.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Talking to folks, and then I decided, I'm gonna do this full time, and
wow.
I took a leap of faith, and I said, because NAMI is a volunteer organization, I was
Mhm.
doing a lot of volunteer stuff, but I said, you know what? I believe that, I believe that God will provide for me if I'm doing something that's good and something I love. Sure enough, I left my job, full time job, and I started getting grants and stuff like that. So I took stuff because I got to pay my rent, and that's been happening. So I've been doing that and doing pretty well,
Yes,
fortunately. And
yes.
so that's a whole non connection right there.
Powerful, powerful. So what is that process like in terms of like dealing with mental health work? How do you like source grants? How do you find grants? You know, how do you find grants to be able to support yourself to do the work? Like, what is that like? Is it stressful? Is it easy? Because again, one thing you mentioned was a few years ago, it wasn't a lot of talk around mental health, around mental illness, especially for Black folks. Now it is. Do you see that that the need that there is in the community, that the resources are catching up to the need?
uh, we're so far behind. So that catching up, we got a whole lot of catching up to do,
Mhm.
especially in the Black community. Real quickly, I'm doing a program called Sharing Hope, and I call it's a community conversation, and I say it's for us, by us, and about us.
Powerful.
I don't say no white people allowed,
Mhm.
nothing like that, but it's really for brothers and sisters and community to get together and have that conversation about mental health in the Black community. Because
Yep.
there's some stuff that we deal with, our
Yep.
traumas, our triggers, our the history of Black folks in America and the diaspora, right, are different from what's happening to people that came from Europe and
Yep.
white folks and stuff like that. So there was a need, especially after George Floyd
Mhm.
and all the other stuff that's been going on. People said, we need to get our stuff together. We
Mhm.
need to see Black folks. We need to create safe spaces where people could share freely about, and me telling my story. And no, Sugar, it's everywhere I went. When I told my story in the black communities and Black and brown, and even a lot in the white communities as well, people would say two things. One is, "Wow, you're so articulate, and you've overcome, and you're dealing successfully navigating." And the other comment I always got 100% of the time was, "Me too. My uncle, my cousin, my
Mhm.
father, my sister, my friend." So it
Yep.
was universal, right? And I said, "Okay, we gotta get some, and there's help out there." So I was fortunate, and one of the things that NAMI was good at is listening to me, and me sharing what I thought was needed in the Black community, because NAMI did not have a presence in the Black community,
Mhm.
really, not much anyway. And so they were good. Then we just started looking at grants, individual donors, writing proposals saying this is what I could bring, or help to bring. And let me reverse that for a second.
Mhm.
Not me bringing,
Mhm.
but becoming a part of, and having the buy-in of the folks, and saying, "This is if I'm coming into your community, it's your community. I
Yep.
want you to share." And that's what Sharing Hope was all about. And then developing programs within the community. So
Powerful.
that's yeah.
No, powerful, powerful. I want to go back real quick. I want to go back to you as a teenager, you as a young man, young adult, um, getting this diagnosis. What went through your mind when you first heard that I have this? What was it called?
Acute
Psychotic,
psychotic episode.
acute psychotic episode. What went through your mind when you learned that's what it was? When you learned
Uh,
what you was experiencing, what you expressed, that's what
yeah.
it was. What was that feeling?
Mm.
And then how did you like? What was the immediate next step for you?
Amen. So, in the continuation of my story, besides that initial paranoid day, and the next day, I went to sleep that night being very scared. I didn't know what was going on with me. Right. Well, the next day I woke up, and I was in like a coma-like state. I
Mm,
shared a room with my brothers, me and my three brothers. I'm on the top bunk, my younger brother's on the bottom bunk, and my other two brothers on the side. And my mom came in to wake us up, four boys. We didn't want to go to school, so she was our alarm clock.
mhm,
So she came in and, John, wake up. My eyes were open, and I could hear, but I couldn't move.
mm,
And she said, "John, wake up, what's going on?" And then I started convulsing. I was going up and down, up and
mm,
down. So now my mother's like, "What's what's up with John?" my brothers were like, "Yo, John, what happened?" My older brother was like, "Yo, John, what's going on? Something happened at this school. I'm gonna go up there and those people up or whatever, right?"
Yeah.
But I was comatose. I was just like this, not saying anything. First time I saw my pops cry, and
Wow.
he was old school. He comes into the room, and my mom's just everybody didn't know what was going on. Again, I'm hearing everything, but I couldn't respond. I couldn't respond. So fast forward, they uh, school set up appointments for the doctors. So I went to see one doctor, and I remember clearly the doctor saying, Sugar, that saying to my mother and father after he tried to talk to me, and I didn't say anything for a while. He said he's too far gone. He has to be institutionalized. I,
Wow.
I remember
Wow.
my mom saying, "Oh hell no," right? So then we went to another doctor, right? Same kind of results. Then and this is like say day 3 now. Hadn't spoken a word. I would only get up if my mom started crying. Say, John, you got to get up. You got to go to the bathroom. Or you got to eat or whatever. I'm like, and so what was happening to the family, they're going through stuff, and my friends, no one knows what's going on. Finally, we go to this doctor, and it was on the Gold Coast of Long Island, some rich suburb out there, and we get to the dude's crib, and it took us from the gate to get to his crib was about a 3-minute drive. So it was like a house on the hill type thing. So I knew this dude had a lot of loot, or he had money.
Yeah.
So we get to the door, and he came to the door with a pipe and a robe. I thought he was like Sigmund Freud or something, right? And he just sat me down. And then in the meantime, he had all the notes and from all the other doctors and stuff like that. He sat me down. He said, John, let me just tell you what's going on with you. And now, mind you, I didn't say nothing. I'm just like, I'm still hadn't talked 4 days.
Wow.
He said, you have something called acute psychotic episode. Let me tell you some people who had it, right? So he said Sigmund Freud, and then he said Leonardo da Vinci. And then he said Winston Churchill. So I'm thinking in my head, I'm saying, all right, I'm in good company. White people, white men, but I'm in good company, right? In terms of feeling like this might be something that's not a death sentence because these guys, they were successful men.
Yep.
And so he's giving me examples. Then he said, you're going to be all right. And then from that moment on, he treated me every day with psychotherapy as well as medication, right? That I told one that's my first God moment, several God moments, but we don't know to this day. I don't know who paid for this dude.
Wow.
And we don't know who paid for him. Day 6 comes, and I still hadn't said anything. My brothers were playing ping pong in the basement, and I walked downstairs and I said, I got next. That's the first words I said. My younger brother, who was about 11 or 12, runs upstairs. Ma, John is talking and stuff like that. And I tell a story, it's Sugar, and I still get emotional about it because it's like, yo, so I spoke. And then, so they gathered around me. We started chatting a little bit. And it seems as quickly as I got into it, I came out of it. But it wasn't that quickly because I still was taking medication and stuff like that. And so that was a moment that I'll never forget. And my parents and all that. And then the story goes on, and I just live with the journey.
Wow.
So that moment of recognizing that, you know, I, I'm able to talk now and I can share and I can express myself was an incredible moment. Because prior to that, even if I wanted to, I couldn't.
Wow.
Yeah. And so with the medication, psychotherapy, rest, all that stuff, I was able to do that. And that was like, that was like a 7, 8 day journey.
Wow.
It was powerful.
Wow, brother. So powerful, so powerful.
Yeah.
I the significance in the first words being I got next. That is so significant because coming from unexpected challenges, unexpected experiences, right? Experiences, as you mentioned, wanting to speak, not being able to, right? Family's afraid, right? You go see a guy who you have no idea who he is, but you feel comfortable enough, right? He's helping you, and then to say, "I got next," it's like calling yourself back into existence, right?
Wow.
So, how did you feel if you can remember when you first heard your voice again? Like, what was that? Because right, you said your brother ran upstairs, told mom John's talk, but
But
what did you feel when you recognized that? Whoa, I'm talking again.
it was like because all the while, some of the other symptoms that I had were besides the paranoia. If the TV was on, I would think if they had a toothpaste commercial, I would think that commercial was directed to me. Right? I was hearing voices,
Yeah,
so I was hearing, one of my delusions was I thought Michael Jackson was in front of my house and he was yelling for me. And then Stevie Wonder came and they're talking. So I'm hearing them audibly. I'm
yeah,
thinking, but it's all in my head, But and then all of a sudden, when I started getting better, and when I heard my voice, it was like, whoa, okay. It was like it felt like a new voice,
wow,
like a
yeah,
new voice, and I was able to, get back to my cadence and my hearing my voice, and then I became a talk, as you see. I talk a lot, right? And that's good because I think expressing myself through my verbal skills as well as just being able to share and communicate, all that stuff was critical back then, and
mhm.
it's critical now. So that voice that I heard was really. I love what you just said, which I never really thought about. I got next.
You got next.
I got next. And another phrase, and one day I'll tell a story that when I was in a psychiatric prison at a hospital, this cat was circling around me in the day room, menacing. And I'm like, here we go, right? Dude came over to me after about 5 minutes of staring at me, and I thought he was gonna jump. And he said, "Yo, John Johnson," like he knew me. And he said,
Mm.
"Yeah, I played ball against you, blah blah blah."
Wow,
His words were, "I got you, I got you."
got you.
Right now, that next day, I was on suicide watch at the hospital, Creedmoor Psychiatric Center. A dude was watching me, a guard, a CO, a corrections officer, or whatever, and he was gone. But he stayed in front. They had to stay in front of my door with the door open just in case I was going to commit suicide. Well, that dude left. I woke up in the morning with another guy there, and he's like, "Yo, John, what are you doing here?" I was like, "I didn't know the guy." And he said, "Yo,
Wow,
but I remember you, cause I." Yo, the dude said to me, "Don't worry about anything. I got you. I
wow,
you." Those are two, and I was in the hospital for 3 more weeks, never saw those two dudes again.
wow.
So besides I got next,
Yep.
I got you.
Got you.
Those two phrases are big phrases for me, you know.
Wow.
But,
Powerful, 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 man. Um, thank you for sharing this, right? I want to come back present day.
sure. Oh, yeah, sure. Mhm.
What bothers you about what's going on in the world, in the Black community in general, in society when it comes to mental health? You know, again, you're doing this work, you're traveling, you're meeting people, you're hearing the stories. What bothers you about society right now when it comes to mental health?
Well, of course, the stigma, right? That whole, the stigma of, you know, that something bad is going to happen, or the portrayal that mental health people with mental health challenges are going to be destructive, are going to be violent, and that's portrayed in the media, in the news reports, and all that. So that creates a hysteria, and it
Mm,
creates a fear for people who are living with mental health challenge. They don't want to come out and talk and say anything because then other people are going to say, "Yo, he's this, he's
mm,
schizophrenic, he's bipolar, he's this," and that's going to create something. So that is slowly deteriorating, slowly dissipating because now people are coming out more.
Yep.
You got people like Kanye and you got Mariah Carey. You got all these people. Alicia Keys suffers from depression. More people are coming out. So the stigma is still there, but it's dying out. Some of the other things that are happening besides the media portrayal are just the whole recognition of being black in America and being black and the challenge and disparities of what's happening in affluent white communities, what's happening in the hood, about mental health, what's happening. So in white affluent areas, you know, when someone is acting erratic, they'll call the hospital. But in of course, our black neighbors, who do we call? We call the cops, right? So that all those things have been brewing for a long time. With the positive things, is what I just said. I think more people are recognizing that that we need mental health challenge. I'll tell you, COVID and that whole pandemic thing brought people out recognizing that we need help, and so that was a good thing. And there's help out there. So society, racism, economic disparities, all those things contribute to our trauma and contribute to our mental health. The good thing is we're thinking about our mental health now, and we're thinking about in conjunction with our physical, and that's a good thing.
And that's what I was about to ask you. What are you excited about, right? What do you see? What's happening that excites you? That's like, whoa, we're making progress. What are the few things that really excites you and inspires you?
Listen, when I do the Sharing Hope program in different communities and neighborhoods, what excites me is number one, people coming out. Because I just say Sharing Hope. We're going to talk about mental wellness. I never say illness, right? Yes. So I talk about mental wellness, our degrees of wellness. Right? So people come out, and I'm fortunate that I'm in Southeast Queens, and I know a lot of people, and so they come out because they heard that I'm speaking or whatever. But what's real exciting is sharing my story, and then hearing everybody else start talking about their story. And I talk for like 5 minutes. The session is about an hour and 15 minutes, and I'm just facilitating. I'm trying to cut people off because they're blah, 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 blah. They're sharing, and what? Well, you too, and my grandmother, and that collective communication, that collective conversation, and the collective wisdom of our people, and that maybe I didn't know how to go about and that I was dealing with, but somebody else did. And they said, "Oh yeah, well this is what I," and that collective that excites me. And some of the people that have come out, and I'm gonna say this: the fact that people come up in tears sometimes and say, thank you for bringing this, thank you, come back again, let's do some more." And that groundswell, it's like it's taking off and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I just want to keep on going with this,
Powerful, absolutely. From your perspective, as both someone who's living with mental health challenges and someone who's doing the work, actually, what more needs to be done? Like, what more realistically, in your perspective, from both sides, needs to be done?
Definitely, on the side of the people living with mental health challenges, be bold, be not afraid, stand in your truth, and say this is what's happening to me, and realize that there's help, and you can get better, and there's no shame in your game. There's no shame, and everybody deals with a degree of wellness, right? Everybody has anxiety at times. So you don't have to be bipolar or schizophrenic. It's just you'll be able to recognize I need some help. And so we need to talk about it. So that is on the people with mental health challenges need to not be afraid. Kill that stigma by showing yourself and achieving, right? And then on the other flip side of that, we need money and research, man. We need money. We need corporations. We need people that are donating, saying, because we need money for research. I'm finding out now, like 50 years, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, they didn't have certain tools because they couldn't afford. Now the money is putting into research. So then we found out now that my brain is different from your brain.
Yep.
Why? They see it now, the synapses and all the neurological stuff. So because there's money coming in, now we can do more research to help folks. And cancer research, a lot of money in that. But now people are putting money into mental health stuff. So that's a big deal among other things. So yeah, a lot of stuff.
Powerful. And real quick, you mentioned, I think we started the conversation. You said you took your walk on the beach, right? You did your thing. So give us a little bit of some tools, some tips, right? And how you live your life, how you've been able to successfully live with this mental health challenge that others may use as well.
Amen. So this treatment I talked about and this coping, right? The treatment is I know that I have to take like someone who has diabetes has to take his insulin. I know that for my chemical imbalance, I have to take this one pill a day. Just to make sure that my levels are right and whatnot. So that's treatment. I go see a psychiatrist once a month, once every couple of months, just to check in. I'm able to now recognize when I'm getting a little paranoid, or when I might call my psychiatrist. Let's tweak the medicine a little bit, right? Or so that's treatment part. The coping part is like everybody needs to find ways to de-stress, right? Right, because stress causes trauma, causes mental health challenges and all that. Some of the things that I do personally is walk on the beach. I live on the beach, fortunately, right? It's right downstairs. I'll take a walk. I know I like going to the mountains and just, smelling flowers and those nature stuff I love to do. I love to listen to R&B music.
Yeah.
Barry Manilow, the Delphonics and stylistic old R&B 70s stuff. I know every song ever written, but then if I want to get hip hop music, things that make me move, because that music can change your mood. Music is critical for me and for I think everybody. So I recognize things that I need to do, and I also recognize when I got to pull back. John, you talking too much. Shut up. John, you need to go to sleep. Right. Right. You need to not go hang out. You need to, and you need to be in communion with other brothers.
Wow.
You need to be in communion, iron sharpens iron, and you need to be in communion with folks. And I'm an extrovert. I know everybody. I love everybody. Sugar, I love you. You're my brother. And the work that you're doing, Sugar, and I hope people are following you and all that is incredible. And when you gave your speech at the NAMI convention conference a couple of years ago, standing ovation, all white people for the most part, but everybody. And that's when I said, I got to get to know you, and I got to see what you're doing. And then we just vibe. It's all business.
Appreciate you. Tell us real quick. I know we got to wrap it up shortly. Tell us about that shirt you got on. I seen that shirt.
Oh man,
Black. Tell us about that.
Healing is the new black. It's a couple of things. First of all, I let people think about what they want to think about. What healing is the new black. When I saw the shirt, I said healing is the new black. Let me snatch that, because healing is critical. When you think of healing, you think of things that are difficult or challenging, or you have a wound and you want to heal. So healing is a good thing, right? When you're going through trauma, when you're going through anything that you need a Band-Aid on, you want to heal from stuff. Black folks, we've been dealing with a lot of trauma in our lives, all of us, right? And we've been dealing, so we're dealing with healing now. We're still with stress and strife and we're moving beyond just the fight, but we're dealing with ourselves and the healing. The healing goes along with the fight, fighting
Absolutely.
and healing. So that's why that's my interpretation of it.
Powerful.
But other people might have think
Yeah.
something about it.
Yeah. Powerful. Where can we find you? How can folks support you? How can folks get in tune with you?
So I'm on the NAMI website. Their website is namiqn.org. Also, you go to my account is John C. John C. Johnson Jr. Right? Go on that, and then you go to Nami_QN. So all those different platforms. I write a blog, so you'll see that when you go on the websites, and also my email is just send me emails jjohnson@nami.com or just jjohns JJOHNS 8426 @AOL. That will get me directly. So if anybody ever wants to just send it to my email and we'll wrap. But
got it. And John, man, leave us with some last words of inspiration, some last words of hope, man.
Just love yourself. Love yourself. Recognize that we all are in union with each other and in communion with each other, and we need each other. And also recognize that mental health challenges is not a death sentence. It's something that you live with, and you can live a great, wonderful life just daily, and know that we're all in this together. So all that stuff, man.
Absolutely. Yo, John, man, I love you, brother. Thank you for making the time to be on my show, the Sugar Ray Show, man, where we're going to have real conversations with real people about real things. Simple as that. Thank you for my first official guest. All right. And I appreciate you, brother. And I'm proud of you. I'm inspired by you. We got to do a part two. We got to come out to the beach, talk a little more, because there's a few more things I want to get into, about society, about you personally, about the work. All right, so we'll catch up with you.
Check out my blog. Check out the blog. And then real quick, the name of the blog is "I Thought You Were Going to Be Somebody: A Black Man's Guide to Living with Bipolar." So that tells a lot of stories. But thank you, Sugar. You are the man. Wherever you go, take me with you. And vice versa. And been enjoying our friendship and the journey that we're walking on.
Yes, sir, man. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your month. Have a beautiful rest of the spring and summer. And we'll see you soon on the beach.
Man, yeah, come on, let's go.
Yo, everybody, man, everybody watching, please tune in to Brother John Johnson, man. As he said, if you know someone in your community, in your family who has some mental health challenges, or if you yourself have some mental health challenges, love yourself. Don't be afraid to share. Be bold. Be courageous. Know that there's help out there, man. Know that together we are healing. Together we are figuring out a path to a better life, a more fulfilling, fruitful life, regardless of what we got going on in our mind. We all deserve to live. We all deserve to be happy. We all deserve support. So love yourselves, man. Love each other. And from the Sugar Ray Show, peace. We out.
Peace.